Good morning, lady bosses. It is Tuesday, 10 o'clock, and we are going live with the white space. And is it stressing you out? So let me hang here for just a minute. I'm not going to hang for long, but I'll give a couple of you an opportunity to get on because I know a lot of you responded that you were coming. So I'll give it a second, but to fill in the space, I'd love you to invite some of your friends to be in this group. If you're finding any value in it, and you have some female friends who are entrepreneurs, I would love to have you invite them along to be part of this ride. Hey, Norma, good morning. How are you? Happy to have you here. Lori, happy to have you too. Okay, I'm not going to wait too long. I'll just give it another second. Flo, good morning. Give it just a minute. Maybe when the next person pops on, we will start. Or not. I'm not going to let you ladies wait too long. So listen. Here we go. Amber, good morning. Happy to have you here. Okay, ladies, today the topic is the white space stressing you out? And again, like I introduced last week, we are all about taking control back and not letting other things be the boss of our lives, right? So that's why we're lady bosses. We're going to take back control. Today, we're going to talk about taking back control of the white space. Okay, let's get started. The white space. Technically, the place that term was used the most was in advertising, because in advertising, they would say the power of advertising is in the white space. So if they were putting an ad together, the more white space there was, the more easily your eye was drawn to the text and to the message, and then you were going to come away with something, right? Think about this. Think about driving down a highway and you see a billboard. And that billboard has lots of white space and the name of the company and maybe the one picture jumps out at you and it makes an impression because you have time to read it. And then think about the billboards you see on the road that are so cluttered with pictures and verbiage and it's all pretty and sometimes it's a beautiful message, but you have no idea what the product is or what they're trying to sell. Now, is that like a huge waste of advertising space or what? So there is power in the white space. So advertising is the world that sort of came from. But when we think about the white space and hear about it today, lots of times you hear about it in the context of people who offer services like within a salon, a hairstylist, a massage therapist, people who fill their day with appointments. Well, when you're looking at your calendar, if you have white space on those pages of appointments, that white space represents the lack of an appointment and therefore the lack of income. So that white space can really stress you out because you're at a salon for 8 hours a day, if that's your case. And if you have 3 appointments and you got all these white spaces where you don't have appointments, you're losing revenue. So the white space in that case can really be stressful. Today, I want you to think about the white space in an entirely different way because many of us are entrepreneurs. We fit our businesses into the nooks and crannies of our lives or we schedule. But think about what your day looks like and think about all the breaks you take during the day from your business. You know, maybe you've just finished up one big project and because of that now you want to take a break and watch TV for a little bit. Or I'm going to, shut down, give my brain a rest and quick play a game on my phone or sit down and read or whatever. Those are the white spaces in your life. Okay, because that's not income producing activity and we're here to try and, we all want to grow our businesses and find balance in our lives, but that's, that's pretty much what we can consider our white space for many of us here. So let me tell you my story, and this has really been big for me and really spoke to me in the last couple months. I think I was probably having entirely too much white space, spending too much time doing nothing. I was tired during the day. I was watching TV, and I really felt lazy. And I was starting to call myself lazy. And I was in a networking group with some fantastic women, and they said, "Why are you calling yourself lazy? Like, where does that come from? First get to the root of that. Like, why are you doing that?" And I really didn't know. I just felt like I needed to be going all the time. Part of it was that other people look at my life and say, "Oh my God, you're so busy. I can't believe all the things you do." And in the back of my mind, I think, "Oh my God, you don't know how much time I waste. I'm really lazy inside." And there was like this big contradiction I couldn't reconcile. And I didn't know where that came from. And the more I thought about it, my mom's 85 years old, and she's such a dynamic 85-year-old. She's just, you would never think she was that old. She's awesome. But every day I get that kind of a message from her in her own life. You know, at the end of the day, if she hasn't done something, even if it's just clean out a drawer, she just feels like she's wasted the day. And she just feels more and more like she feels so lazy and she feels so tired. And I think I started becoming really fearful that I was slipping into that same thing. So that's where all that came from. So I thought about it, and I heard another woman talking once and saying, don't apologize for the time you need down. You know, we all need downtime. So it made me realize, okay, I started to put that word away and realize, okay, I do need to have time to shut down, and every one of us does. So let's start with redefining the white space, okay? And not think about the white space as a bad thing, like, oh my gosh, I should be working and I'm not, okay? Let's redefine it. One thing I read that I loved, white space is breathing space, okay? Think about it as breathing space. White space means better productivity. White space helps you become more focused and clear. So there we go. The bottom line is it's about balance. If you don't have white space, if you don't take time to just shut down and restore yourself and refresh yourself a little bit, you're not going to be productive. You're not going to be focused. You're not going to be clear of what you're doing. You're always going to be like running in a million directions and losing all that focus completely. So white space is very important. So let's change our definition of it and stop looking at it as a bad thing. One of the women in my masterminding group at one point said, let's call it gold space. And I think that's a great idea. That space is golden and it's important. Okay, but all that being said, you need it. It's critical. But the bottom line is you got to really think about it and look at it. How much do you need? Okay, if you're watching TV 5 hours a day and that's kind of your white space, do you really need 5 hours a day of downtime? Think about what you really need. Now, I do find as I'm getting older, I need a little more. I need a little more time to recover and be in a good place. Rosie, that makes so much sense. I get caught up in feeling like I have to justify having my business. I think I need to be more organized so I can use the time I have better. That is key. That is so key. It's taking control of it, being intentional with your time so you can be more productive, so you can find the balance. So here's where you can start with that balance. Think about, first off, how much time you need. Okay, if you were ever working a 9-to-5 job, think about what your life was like then. I worked a 9-to-5 job for over 40 years of my life. When I came home at the end of the day, that job was typically somebody else's problem, so I could shut it off. It's not like being an entrepreneur. I could just shut it off and forget about it until 9 o'clock the next morning. So I got home, I had my evening, okay, I had to make dinner, I had to clean up after dinner, I had kids, I had laundry, all that stuff. But probably by 7:30, 8 o'clock, I was finished. And I sat down, and until bedtime, I had my white space or my gold space to just recover. I had my weekends to pretty much recover. I mean, there were things to do around the house, but for the most part, I really had enough time to recharge that on Monday morning, I was ready to go at it again. So think about that. That only gave me a couple hours a day, but that couple hours a day was plenty of time to shut down and to find some balance in my life. So think about how much time you need and you want, and then really define that. If you say, okay, I'm going to work during the day until 5 o'clock, take a break in the morning and the afternoon, but set your timer if you have to. Make it a 15-minute break. I don't care what you do, but do something to shut down a little bit and, just, again, be refreshed. Take an hour at lunchtime. Take an hour at lunchtime and do whatever it is that's going to restore you. But give it a time limit. Give yourself time limits during the day and time limits at night. Something I found recently that's really been working for me, I'm totally not a morning person. And I get up and I would spend the first couple of my hours just totally relaxing before I got in the groove. And then by 9 o'clock, I was at my desk, hitting it hard, ready to go. But I was really wasting those 2 hours. So here's the next thing. Think about what is it you're going to do when you have that downtime. Sure, I could sit and play a game or scroll Facebook for 2 hours before I got started during the day. But I could be just as relaxed and refreshed by reading a book. Or, for some people, getting your exercise in then. There are lots of things you could do during your downtime that are going to be way more productive than turning on TV or doing something that's a total mindless time waster. think about something you can do that's more productive that still allows you to just restore and relax a little bit. So yeah, Lori, that's good. Lori gets fiercely protective of her white space, and you should. This is my time. So that's awesome. I want you all to think about it and treat it that way. But that being said, you have to define a time limit on it, and what are you going to do with it? So what I'm doing now is from the time I get up until I hit my desk, I'm using that time to maybe listen to a podcast or watch a TED Talk that's going to be relevant, that's going to help me. And it could be any area of your life. Personal development, spiritual, get up and do the magic, what is it called? The magical hour or the morning hour, whatever. But find time to really get yourself set and ready for the day. Doing something that relaxes you, but something that feeds you at the same time. Look for time to be fed. And then during the day, at lunchtime, I'll take an hour off and then do whatever I want. And then even at nighttime, I'll wait until like 9:30 at night, until if I want to just scroll through Facebook for a couple hours, that's when I'll do it. I don't get sucked into that during the day. So think about that. Whatever the things are going to be, Miracle Morning, that's it. Thanks, Anna Maria. Whatever it is that you're going to do during the day to feed yourself and to fill that white space, be very careful that the thing you choose is not a trigger that's going to suck you in. And then before you know it, you've wasted 5 hours. Because that can happen easily. I used to do that with little computer games. I'd finish a project, it's like, oh, okay, I just need to unwind now. I'd be like real excited. So I'd pull out my computer game thinking, hey, I only have 5 lives. How long can this be? But I had 3 games, and once I lost 5 lives in one, then I'd go to another, then I'd go. Before I knew it, I could be spending 2 hours. Games on my phone are such a trigger for me that suck me in and rob me of my day. They become the boss of me, and my goal is to become my own boss. So I've had to take them off my phone completely. And if I'm even tempted for a second to put them back on when I think I can control it, there have been plenty of times where I thought, I'm only going to play them at the end of the day. I know that that's a trigger for me, and it will never end there. So if I'm going to be very intentional with my time during the day, I can't be triggered by things like that. For you, it might be TV, like, oh, you know what, it's lunchtime, so let me watch 1 episode of this series I'm watching. And before you know it, 5 episodes later, it's time for dinner and you haven't gotten a darn thing done. So just be very careful that you're not wasting your time, that you're not choosing things that are going to be triggers for you. And listen, here's a big trigger. We're entrepreneurs, and for many of us, we know the power of social media to grow our business and to brand ourselves. So we have very strategic social media activities that we need to do every day. I'm just telling you, you need to be very careful. Limit the time you're going to spend on social media to say, like, I'm going to spend a half an hour in the morning, maybe a half an hour at night, but I'm going to be intentional and do the things that I'm there to do. And then if it's 9:30 at night and you're done for the day and you just whatever, then do it then. Then if you want to scroll Facebook for a couple hours, do it then. But don't let it creep into your day when you want to be productive, you want to be intentional. If you're using social media, you've got to be very, very careful because you're right there. You've opened that door and you got to be intentional and do the things you're there to do. And don't get sucked into what everybody's eating for lunch, for crying out loud. There's so much more value to it than that. So be intentional with that time. So that's very important. It's just the mindfulness about how you're going to spend your time. Rosie, I turned off Facebook and Instagram notifications on my phone for the same reason. Yes, man, that's a whole topic I'm covering in another segment where we're going to talk about distraction. But oh my gosh, when you're working, shut down the distractions. That'll rob your time big time. But for now, we're just talking about this time that you need to take for you. So figure out what kind of things you can do for yourself. Miracle Morning, exercising. If you need to take a nap in the afternoon, just set your timer. There's nothing wrong with that. But define the amount of time you need to recharge, limit it to that amount of time, and then with the rest of your day, you want to spend it being productive and really, really being intentional about the things you do. So don't feel guilty about taking the time for yourself. That's my biggest message today. Don't feel guilty that you feel like you have to be working every minute that you are awake and breathing, because you don't. But be conscious of how you're spending your time. Be very mindful of what you're wasting your time on. And yeah, you need balance, but please look at how you're filling your white space and limit it. Try and make it fruitful and just, be careful of the things you fill it with. And you'll be so much more balanced. It's critical and it's necessary for your success. I mean, you have to find that balance or you're not going to be productive. So find the balance, but balance does not mean that everything gets equal time. Balance is very intentional. Balance means what you need at that particular moment. So maybe you need a total of 2 or 3 hours a day to be totally shut down. But then if that's the case, make sure you focus the rest of your time on doing what's most important. And that doesn't mean work. That means family. That means the rocks in your life too. But, find that balance. So that's what I've got for you today. Does anybody else have questions? I'm going to post this. So if you have questions, throw them up later and I'll be happy to answer them in the chat. Let me see if there are any that I missed. Let's see. Anna Maria, white space creates a stronger and healthier mental ability. We need a balance so the fog gets cleared. See, it's so critical. Just what you needed to hear, Christine, often. Yes, you have to white space, and I love how, Lori said you have to be protective of it. Flo says, when you work within your home, your work is always there. I try to make a master week list and check them off daily. Some, or I should say many of my projects take less or more than a day. Let's see. Okay. No, this is awesome. This is awesome. Well, listen, this is great. I will give you a little heads up. I'll be posting the Evite actually on Thursday. But based on one of Amber's requests last week, Amber, thanks for being here. We're going to talk next week about your actual scheduling, how you schedule, whether you're a digital scheduler or, whether you plan digitally or you plan on paper, how to find a balance. Again, how to not get sucked into some of the traps of that and having it be a bad thing instead of a good thing. So we're going to talk about that next week. But awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here. And if you're finding value in this, again, I would love to have you invite your friends to the group. We're going to keep doing this every Tuesday. And seriously, we're going to be talking about being the boss of your life in every area of your life, your relationships, your business, your health, as an entrepreneur, the things you face. So we're going to be just jumping all around with all different topics, but a lot of good stuff that I hope really helps you. And I love your input. So I love you being here. So ladies, awesome. Have a great week. It's been great spending time with you and we'll talk soon. See ya. Have a good day.